You've seen them in every period drama and history book. The iconic powdered wigs of the aristocracy, a symbol of elegance, power, and high-class society. It's the image of a more refined, civilized time. That's a complete and utter lie. The real reason for these wigs wasn't fashion. It was a desperate, disgusting attempt to cover up a horrifying reality of filth, disease, and decay that rotted the upper classes from the inside out. Behind every powdered curl was a story of oozing sores, relentless parasites, and a stench so bad it would make you gag. You're about to discover a secret so revolting, you'll never look at a historical portrait the same way again. The plague you couldn't talk about. Let's start with the most shocking truth, the one that drove the entire trend. The 17th and 18th centuries were ravaged by a silent epidemic that terrified the wealthy, syphilis. This wasn't just some minor inconvenience. It was a death sentence that started by making you hideous. The disease caused your hair to fall out in clumps, covered your body in foul-smelling open sores, and eventually led to a slow, agonizing descent into madness. But here's where it gets truly twisted. In a world obsessed with appearance, going bald wasn't just embarrassing. It was a public announcement that you had a shameful disease. King Louis XIII of France started losing his hair in his early 20s, likely from syphilis. To hide his shame, he started wearing a wig. His cousin, King Charles II of England, did the same to cover his own sores and thinning hair from the disease. And because these were the most powerful men in Europe, everyone else started copying them. Nobles who weren't sick started wearing wigs just to look fashionable and prove they were part of the elite. It became the ultimate act of fake it till you make it. Wearing a wig meant you were either rich enough to be fashionable, or you were hiding the fact that your body was literally falling apart. A living ecosystem of filth. Even if you somehow avoided syphilis, there was a more common horror you couldn't escape: head lice. People in the 18th century rarely bathed. Water was considered dangerous and unhealthy. That meant their hair was a greasy, unwashed mess. Imagine an itch so relentless you scratch until you bleed. That was daily life for even the richest people. Their hair wasn't a fashion statement, it was a writhing, thriving ecosystem for parasites. So, what was the solution? Get this. Instead of trying to wash their hair, they just gave up. They would shave their heads completely bald. It was the only way to get rid of the constant infestation. The wig wasn't just a cover-up for disease, it was a replacement for their own parasite-ridden hair. They'd place their wig on a stand at night, and servants would try to delouse it by boiling it or baking it in a small oven to kill the nits. Your fancy hairdo was essentially a removable pest control device. The revolting secret of the powder. You might think the white powder was just for that iconic color, right? The reality is so much more disgusting. The powder wasn't just chalk or flour. To make it stick to the wig, it was mixed with animal fat, usually pig or sheep lard. Then, to cover up the stench of unwashed bodies, it was scented with lavender or orange peel. So, let's be clear. That elegant white hairdo was actually a greasy helmet of scented animal fat and starch caked onto a pile of dead people's hair. But here's where it becomes a true horror show. That animal fat would go rancid. The wig, sitting on your head for hours in a hot ballroom, would become a sticky, smelly magnet for dirt, grime, and something much worse: vermin. The lard and starch paste was a walking buffet. Fleas, lice, and other bugs would feast on the concoction, making the wigs even more infested than the hair they were meant to replace. It gets worse. There are historical accounts of people's wigs becoming infested with mice, who would nest in the elaborate structures at night. Your head wasn't a fashion statement. It was a fire hazard, a biohazard, and a rodent's nest all in one. So the next time you see a portrait of these refined aristocrats, remember what you're really looking at: a desperate attempt to hide disease, a breeding ground for parasites, and a greasy, bug-infested helmet of rancid animal fat. Suddenly, our modern world of daily showers and shampoo doesn't seem so bad, does it? What's the most disgusting historical hygiene practice you've ever heard of? Drop a comment below and let us know. And if this glimpse into the filthy past has you feeling grateful for modern life, maybe hit that subscribe button, because there are plenty more horrifying truths that textbooks conveniently leave out.